Let me be honest with you, men over 50. Millions of men close their eyes every night, thinking that their bodies are just aging. On the inside, however, something much more grave is taking place. The hormone that gives you strength, desire, and manhood, testosterone, is subtly declining more quickly than you may realize. Furthermore, it goes beyond intercourse. It all comes down to your vitality, self-assurance, and sense of aliveness. The jolt? Age is not the primary cause of this deterioration. It is brought on by habits that can be broken, beginning tonight. My name is Dr. Mohit Cara, and I have been helping men recover their vitality naturally for over 30 years. I am a urologist and men's health specialist. Without the use of medications, injections, or dangerous shortcuts, I have witnessed people in their 60s and 70s improve their vitality, their attitude, and even their performance in bed. Trying to sell you a supplement is not my goal. I have something far more potent for you: information. We have been told for decades that testosterone decline is unavoidable because it's gone forever once it drops. Today, however, science presents a very different picture. Your body produces testosterone continuously. It simply quits receiving the assistance it requires to do so. In actuality, you can naturally rekindle your hormone factory with the correct time and food mix. I'll demonstrate in this consultation how using a single, natural ingredient with olive oil before bed can help you regain equilibrium, increase testosterone, and even fortify your erections the next day. And if you stick with me through to the finish, I'll tell you the precise mix and bedtime routine that makes this easy kitchen ritual into one of the most effective testosterone-boosting routines you'll ever try. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell before we begin so that you don't miss any more videos that are aimed at helping guys over 50 regain their confidence, strength, and vitality. I would also be delighted to hear from you. Please leave a comment if this information is useful to you. If not, enter 0 and let me know how I can help you get even more out of these videos. Let's start with the reality that any man over 50 should be aware of. As people age, their testosterone levels do not abruptly decline. Our daily decisions lead it to gradually wane. We must first comprehend why it deteriorates and what is actually going on inside your body in order to rebuild it. Section 1. Why testosterone drops after 50 and why it's still possible. When I started working with older guys, I found that nearly all of them shared a common trait. They would softly confess, "Doctor, I just don't feel like myself anymore," after entering my office and taking a seat. Some characterized it as persistent weariness. Others claimed to have lost their spark, the drive that formerly gave them the will to get out of bed in the morning and the sense of invincibility. In reality, they were talking about a gradual hormonal change that most men are unaware of until it has already occurred. This is what I want you to know. Turning 50 or 60 doesn't cause your testosterone levels to abruptly drop. It isn't like a light switch that goes off all at once. Rather, it resembles a lamp gradually becoming dimmer. Around age 30, testosterone starts to decrease at a rate of about 1% a year. Even while it might not seem like much, the shift becomes noticeable after 2 or 3 decades. You get more agitated, lose muscle more quickly, gain fat more readily, and realize that your sleep isn't as deep or rejuvenating as it once was. You might even begin to question the disappearance of your sex drive, the aspect of yourself that gave you a sense of youth, self-assurance, and vitality. The secret that most guys never hear, though, is this. Age is not the only factor contributing to this deterioration. The environment, our way of life, and the way our contemporary routines disrupt the body's natural cycles are to blame. Chronic stress, poor sleep, processed foods, and inactivity all take testosterone day by day, like silent robbers. The good news is that you can start reversing these causes as soon as you recognize them. I've seen men in their 60s and even 70s undergo radical changes in their libido and energy levels. They realized how their body actually functions, not because they took a miracle drug. Consider testosterone to be the body's internal vitality signal. It's what instructs your heart to remain strong, your brain to remain bright, your muscles to remain strong, and your will to live. Everything else follows as that signal becomes weaker.
However, your body's ability to use testosterone is much more crucial than its production.
A lot of men get lost here. When they view their lab results, they believe that if the number is normal, everything is good. However, the most important factor is how well your cells react to the hormone. Think of testosterone as a signal attempting to get to the command center of your body. The message cannot be received if your cells are encased in layers of insulin resistance, extra fat, and inflammation. Even if your body is making adequate testosterone, your tissues aren't paying attention. This explains why two men with identical blood levels may experience very distinct emotions. While the other feels worn out and uninspired, the first feels powerful and vigilant. Since fat tissue and inflammation are two of the main offenders, let's now discuss them. There is more to belly fat than just stored energy, particularly the type that accumulates deep within the abdomen. It is an active organ that releases an enzyme called aromatase, as well as inflammatory substances. Testosterone is literally changed into estrogen by this enzyme. In other words, your manly hormone is converted into its reverse the more belly fat you have. Because of this, guys who have bigger waistlines frequently have mood swings, poorer erections, and low vitality. Their biology is working against them. It's not the conclusion of the narrative. Stress and lack of sleep stoke the flames. The hormone that instructs your testes to produce testosterone, luteinizing hormone, is not released by your body when you don't get enough deep sleep. Cortisol and other stress hormones also decrease sensitivity and inhibit production. It's similar to attempting to operate a vehicle with both feet planted firmly on the brake and the gas. The system eventually breaks down. There is hope, though, and it's easier than you might think. Once you stop resisting it, the body has a remarkable capacity to recover and regain equilibrium. By altering a few evening routines that promote rather than interfere with hormonal regularity, I have witnessed men rediscover their vigor. Testosterone doesn't simply stop decreasing when you consume the appropriate foods at the right times, exercise regularly, and give your body enough time to rest. It starts to flourish once more. So keep this in mind before you believe it's too late. You're not becoming less of a man. You're just not in tune with it. That same sense of strength, drive, and purpose returns in spades after you adjust your lifestyle and provide your body with the raw materials it requires. Understanding one of the most potent natural hormone buddies that is out there, a food that is probably in your kitchen right now, is the first step. Because I'll demonstrate to you in the next section of this consultation how something as basic as olive oil can serve as the internal fuel that rekindles your testosterone factory. Section 2. Insulin, belly fat, and the hidden hormonal saboteur. Over the years, I've seen hundreds of men come into my office with their lab results in hand, looking for a solution to their waning strength and lack of energy. The majority of them anticipated that I would recommend hormone therapy or testosterone injections. However, I would usually ask them to raise their shirt after sliding their lab sheets aside. I would gently point to their abdomen and say, "This is where your testosterone is going away." They would assume I was kidding and laugh uneasily. However, I wasn't. The truth is that your hormones are suffering considerably more harm from that soft ring of fat around your waist than you may realize. Belly fat is more than just stored energy that is ready to be expended, you see. It is a living, breathing organ that sends chemical messages all across your body. An enzyme called aromatase is located deep within that fat, and it does a terrible deed. It produces estrogen from testosterone, the hormone that makes you a man. You manufacture more aromatase and lose more testosterone the more abdominal fat you have. It resembles a creeping leak in the gasoline line of your body. You lose power, desire, and vitality with every inch you add around your waist. However, the issue doesn't end there. Additionally, belly fat interferes with your body's capacity to regulate insulin, another important system. A hormone called insulin aids in controlling blood sugar levels and provides your cells with energy. Insulin resistance is the result of your body starting to disregard the insulin signal when you consume too many processed meals, sugary beverages, or refined carbohydrates. The outcome? Your pancreas works harder, blood sugar levels remain elevated, and fat storage, particularly around the midriff, increases. The horrible twist comes next.
Gaining weight is not the only effect of insulin resistance. It actively inhibits the synthesis of testosterone. After the age of 50, many men are caught in a vicious cycle of increased estrogen and decreased testosterone. Burning fat becomes more difficult as testosterone levels decline. More testosterone is transformed into estrogen as fat builds up. It's a hormonal battle that leaves you exhausted, agitated, and frequently defeated. Patients have told me, "Doctor, I'm eating less, but my belly doesn't go away." And they're right. Cutting calories won't help you unless you address the hormonal imbalance causing the fat buildup. Inflammation is what makes this even more harmful. Your hormone receptors become dulled when belly fat grows because it generates inflammatory chemicals that travel throughout your body. This implies that your cells are unable to identify or utilize testosterone appropriately, even if your body continues to make some of it. It's similar to attempting to tune into a radio station while surrounded by static. The signal may still be present, but it is muffled by the interference. This inflammation eventually does more than merely deplete your hormones. It has an impact on your heart, brain, and mood. Fortunately, this procedure is reversible and doesn't necessitate rigorous exercise regimens or intricate diets. Restoring your body's sensitivity to insulin and reducing inflammation are crucial. Therefore, substituting unhealthy saturated and processed fats with better ones, particularly extra virgin olive oil, is one of the first things I educate my patients. According to studies, men who follow a Mediterranean-style diet high in olive oil have greater testosterone levels, reduced belly fat, and better insulin sensitivity. That's no accident. By improving the way your body uses insulin, olive oil enables glucose to reach your cells rather than being stored as fat. Consider your cells as doors and insulin as a key. When someone has insulin resistance, the key rusts, fits poorly, and the door remains locked. Your body begins storing more fat as blood glucose levels rise. Olive oil functions as a lubricant for that key, restoring the lock's functionality and enabling energy to flow where it's most required, thanks to its potent antioxidants and monounsaturated fats. Natural increases in testosterone and a decrease in fat accumulation occur when insulin functions correctly again. Your energy returns as your metabolism starts to burn cleaner and more effectively. The thing that I adore most about this change is how fast men begin to sense it. Many people report increased mental clarity, more energy in the morning, and even improved performance in the bedroom within a few weeks of regulating their blood sugar and optimizing their fat sources. Your body begins to function as a whole once your hormones are in balance. This is where things start to become very interesting, though. Olive oil has many benefits than only lowering abdominal fat and balancing insulin. Almost as though nature created it specifically for this function, it contains substances that directly support the cells that produce testosterone. Additionally, a fantastic thing occurs within your body when you sleep, when you combine olive oil with the appropriate natural companion before bed. I'll explain that partner ingredient in detail in the following section of our consultation, along with how it complements olive oil and why taking it at night can give your testosterone levels the strongest spike you've seen in years. Section 3. The Nighttime Power Combo, Olive Oil and Its Ideal Companion. I will always remember Robert, a 64-year-old retired firefighter who was one of my long-term patients. He came to me because he felt as though his body had lost its spark. He had tried protein shakes, vitamins, and even some pills that his buddies were using, but none of them seemed to be helping. He acknowledged that his confidence in the bedroom had diminished, his energy was flat, and his testosterone levels were steadily declining. I noticed something intriguing when I questioned him about his daily routine. Even though he ate a balanced diet during the day, his evenings were chaotic: sweet desserts, sleepless nights, and late supper. I then told him something that most men don't hear. Your hormones can be destroyed or rebuilt overnight, depending on what you consume before bed. You see, while you sleep, your body is not in a state of pause. It is healing, rebuilding, rebalancing, and in repair mode. Particularly during deep sleep, when luteinizing hormone instructs your testes to create this essential hormone, testosterone is at its peak activity. What if, just before that process starts, you could provide your body with the precise nutrition it requires? This is when olive oil and its ideal midnight companion come into play. Even by itself, olive oil is a powerful substance. Your testes' Leydig cells, which produce testosterone, are shielded by its abundance of monounsaturated fats and antioxidants. But before bed, the synergy becomes something spectacular when you combine it with certain nutrient-rich companions. The science is obvious. Your body's circadian cycle governs hormone activity and nutrient absorption. Your body can use what you give it more efficiently if you time your intake right before bed, bringing nutrition and biology into harmony. Let's now discuss the partner who transforms olive oil from a good to a game-changing product. I frequently suggest natural products that are high in flavonoids, zinc, and magnesium, nutrients that directly fuel your testosterone production. For instance, adding a tiny bit of raw honey to olive oil does more than just please your palate. Flavonoids included in honey help maintain insulin balance and shield cells that produce hormones from oxidative damage. Additionally, it gives your brain a mild dose of glucose, which helps to maintain sleep and lower stress hormones like cortisol, the hormone that destroys testosterone, at night. Next is zinc, which is rich in pumpkin seeds. Your body cannot finish the process of turning cholesterol into testosterone without zinc. Despite being one of the most important minerals for male vitality, it is frequently disregarded. A spoonful of olive oil and a handful of crushed pumpkin seeds provide a well-balanced blend of minerals to help develop them and healthy fats to carry hormones. Almonds contain magnesium, which adds another level of complexity. It lowers blood pressure, relaxes muscles, and even increases free testosterone, the active version that your body employs in real life. Imagine this straightforward evening routine: a teaspoon of raw honey, 1 to 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, and a scattering of broken almonds or pumpkin seeds. You take it as a silent act of feeding, 30 to 40 minutes before bed, rather than as a substantial meal. That combo starts to work as you fall asleep. In order to deliver nutrients gradually throughout the night, the olive oil somewhat slows down digestion. Because the honey stabilizes blood sugar, you can sleep soundly and undisturbed. The minerals help your body produce and use testosterone effectively by supporting the enzymes and receptors it needs. It's not magic. This is physiology done correctly. Robert was dubious when he attempted this ritual. "Do you truly believe that a tablespoon of honey and oil will make a difference, Doc?" "Give it a week," I responded with a smile. He returned 2 weeks later with a smile I hadn't seen in months. He informed me that he was sleeping better, feeling more like a man again, and waking up with more vitality. He claimed that his wife had also observed. He came to the realization that sometimes doing more isn't as important as doing it more intelligently. This evening ritual's simplicity isn't its only appeal. It's in the way it functions with your body, rather than against it. At the precise moment your system is meant to heal itself, you are providing it with nourishment. By feeding your cells, regulating your hormones, and providing your body with the building blocks to restore strength from within, you're preventing stress and blood sugar spikes. Even though this combination is quite potent at night, there is one element that has the capacity to either intensify or reverse its effects. It's how your body sleeps, not what you consume. Because your hormones cannot carry out their nightly repair work if you don't get enough deep, restful sleep. I'll explain how sleep, and a crucial error men over 50 make before bed, can drastically alter testosterone levels in the next part. Section 4. Poor sleep, hidden stress hormones, and the silent testosterone killer. I recall a 67-year-old retired engineer called Thomas who had been feeling strange for months and had been to see me. He had shed some belly fat, eaten healthier than he had in years, and begun his evenings with honey and olive oil. His vigor had not returned, however, and his testosterone levels remained low in spite of everything. I started to notice something else as we conversed. I asked him a straightforward question because of the dark circles under his eyes, his slow blinking, and the tired tone I've heard far too often. "How's your sleep, Thomas?" "Not great, doctor," he answered with a groan. "If I'm lucky, maybe 4 hours every night." And that was the final piece of the puzzle, right there. Sleep is more than just slumber. It's your body's weekly hormone workshop, something that most guys are unaware of. Your pituitary gland releases luteinizing hormone in response to a signal from your brain when you go into deep, restorative sleep. That spark signals your testes to start producing testosterone. However, such signals are diminished when your sleep is brief, disrupted, or shallow. Consider attempting to start a vehicle with a dead battery. The engine may click, but it never roars to life. Your body cannot carry out the hormonal repairs it is intended to do if you don't get enough deep sleep. According to University of Chicago research, testosterone levels can drop by as much as 15% after just 1 week of sleep deprivation. Consider that. Your body can feel 10 to 15 years older after just 7 nights of sleep deprivation. Additionally, the depth of your sleep is just as important as its duration. The later phases of sleep, particularly the REM and profound slow-wave phases, are when testosterone production peaks. However, you deprive your body of the exact stage where testosterone is produced when you're turning, tossing, checking your phone, or getting up to go to the bathroom. The stress hormone cortisol comes next. Cortisol is what I frequently refer to as the silent destroyer of masculinity. It's meant to help you get up in the morning and fall throughout the day. However, it remains elevated throughout the night in men who lead lives characterized by ongoing stress, financial concerns, family strife, late-night news cycles, or even incessant overthinking. Additionally, testosterone and cortisol are like two sides of a seesaw. One must fall when the other rises. Elevated cortisol causes you to accumulate extra belly fat, interferes with your sleep, and inhibits the creation of testosterone. There are 3 threats. Your nocturnal surroundings are therefore just as important as your diet. I advise my patients to think of their bedrooms as healing temples. Keep it cool, dark, and silent. At least 1 hour before going to bed, turn off your phone. Screen blue light suppresses melatonin, the hormone that promotes sleep, by fooling your brain into believing it is sunlight. Additionally, if you frequently browse social media before bed, you're unintentionally causing your body to produce more cortisol at the exact moment when it needs to unwind. Use that final hour to relax instead. Stretch, take a deep breath, and read something gentle. Your body is awaiting authorization to relax. This is where the potency of your evening olive oil ritual increases. Not only are you nourishing your hormones when you combine olive oil, honey, and foods high in magnesium, such as almonds, but you are also soothing your nervous system. Satiety hormones are released when healthy fats are consumed, alerting your brain that you are satisfied, safe, and ready to sleep. Just the right amount of natural sugar is provided by honey to keep blood glucose stable throughout the night and avoid those 3 a.m. energy crashes that cause you to wake up without cause. Additionally, magnesium quietly relaxes your muscles and aids in the body's natural release of melatonin. Thomas did as I said. About 9 p.m., he turned off his phone an hour before bed, turned down the lights, and started taking his honey-olive oil combo. After a week, he became aware that he was sleeping more quickly. His morning vigor was coming back within 3. What his body was already telling him was confirmed by his follow-up labs. Naturally, his testosterone levels have increased. I didn't need a new medicine, doctor, he continued, glancing at me. All I had to do was sleep. That experience made me realize that nothing, not even food, supplements, or quick fixes, can take the place of what your body does when you give it the proper circumstances to heal. However, most guys are unaware of one additional secret. Your body needs to be shielded from quiet inflammation before your testosterone can really flourish. Even if you make dietary changes and sleep well, the unseen flames consuming your joints, blood vessels, and even your brain. And what distinguishes men who merely retain testosterone from those who genuinely regain it is this following stage, which I'm going to discuss. Section 5. The inner fire that is hidden, how inflammation silently destroys testosterone. I will never forget a chat I had with a 72-year-old retired teacher named Henry, who had discreetly ignored his own body while spending decades assisting others. "I don't understand, doctor," he stated when he first sat across from me. "I eat healthily every day. I go for a walk. My quality of sleep has improved. Why then do I still feel weak and exhausted?" The narrative was revealed by his blood testing. His levels of interleukin-6, C-reactive protein and inflammatory markers were extremely high, but his testosterone was not very low. I then gave an explanation that any man over 60 should hear. The silent thief of testosterone is inflammation. It won't always manifest as heat or pain. Sometimes it's simply exhaustion, hazy thinking, a lack of motivation, and a slower rate of recovery. But don't be misled. It's always consuming your energy in a silent manner. Fundamentally, inflammation is your body's defense system. It is what aids in infection prevention and damage recovery. However, that defense mechanism becomes stuck in the on position as we age, eat poorly, experience stress, and are exposed to chemicals in our surroundings. Healthy tissues, including the cells that produce testosterone, are attacked by the immune cells that once protected you. Your testes, tiny yet powerful hormone makers, the Leydig cells, are particularly susceptible to inflammatory injury. They really cannot perform at their best when they are constantly being attacked. This is the reason inflammation is so harmful. It is not visible. It appears everywhere, but you can't see it in the mirror or feel it like a torn muscle. Plaque accumulation in your arteries, stiffness in your joints, and mental sluggishness in your brain. It even disrupts your hormone receptors, preventing testosterone from doing its function. Consider speaking into a microphone that has been muted by dust accumulations. Although it is warped, the signal is still present. Inflammation affects your hormones in precisely that manner. The communication is jumbled. Here is where olive oil once again comes into its own. The majority of men consider it to be only a cooking fat. However, within that golden liquid are substances known as polyphenols, which are potent natural antioxidants that function within your body like firefighters. They lessen inflammation, lessen oxidative stress, and shield the cells that make hormones from harm. Studies have demonstrated that 2 polyphenols found only in extra virgin olive oil, hydroxytyrosol and oleocanthal, function similarly to natural anti-inflammatory medications without the negative side effects. The fire that has been consuming your energy for years is literally put out. I consider my patients' hormones in addition to their hearts when I advise them to switch from processed oils and fried foods to extra virgin olive oil. Because you're lowering the inflammatory commotion that keeps your testosterone quiet each time you go for olive oil instead of butter, margarine, or seed oils. That loudness subsides over weeks. Energy comes back. The body feels lighter. Since inflammation is one of the primary causes of men's nighttime insomnia, even sleep improves. However, there are other ways to manage inflammation outside nutrition. That fire is maintained by inactivity, stress, and inadequate sleep. I tell men that movement is medicine because of this. Simple deep breathing, mild stretching before bed, and a 30-minute walk after dinner can all help reduce stress hormones like cortisol, which in turn reduce inflammation. Together, these minor changes, cleaner fats, a more relaxed mindset, and steady movement, create the conditions necessary for testosterone to flourish once more. Henry heeded this counsel. Before going to bed, he added a few minutes of silent breathing, started drinking more water, and replaced his processed oils with cold-pressed olive oil. He didn't have to express his feelings to me when he returned 3 months later. It was visible to me. His voice was louder and his posture straighter. He remarked, "I no longer feel like I'm fighting my body." His testosterone had naturally increased without the need for medication, and his inflammation had significantly decreased. He then grinned and said something that will always stick in my memory. My inner fire seems to be at last under control and heading in the right direction. The beauty of seeing your hormones as a living, breathing system rather than as discrete numbers is that reducing inflammation also preserves your energy, clarity, and confidence, in addition to your testosterone. However, most men forget one more important step. Your results will wane even if your hormones, sleep, and inflammation are all in balance at last, unless you make one significant change in your thinking that turns a temporary habit into a lifetime one. I'll explain in the next section how to make everything we've talked about a habit that is so automatic and organic that your body starts to repair and flourish every night on its own. Section 6. Building the habit that restores your hormones from routine to ritual. In my experience, treating hundreds of men, the ones who changed their health weren't those who were searching for new supplements or miracle drugs. It was these men who created little, dependable rituals that became ingrained in their identity. One 61-year-old mechanic patient named Mark told me, "Doctor, I'm not very good at routines, but I can handle one thing before bed." His nightly olive oil ritual was that one thing. He initially approached it as an experiment. However, after a few weeks, he claimed that it began to feel sacred, something he truly anticipated. Everything changed at that point. You see, when a habit feels like work, it stops working. When rituals have purpose, they endure. It's not just about increasing testosterone when you combine olive oil with honey, almonds, or pumpkin seeds before bed. It all comes down to telling your body that it's time to recover. You're opting for purpose over chaos and restoration over stress. That mental change is what transforms a small action into a habit that changes people's lives. More important than perfection is consistency. Perhaps you travel or forget one night, but you keep returning to it. Because your body remembers each time you follow that ritual. The balance of hormones improves, sleep becomes more profound, energy comes back. It becomes more than just something you do over time. It becomes a part of who you are, a self-promise that you fulfill. Despite the ritual's strength, there is one last thing that every man needs to know. Your body can only reach its maximum potential when you rediscover the deeper meaning behind your health, even with the correct diet, rest, and discipline. That purpose, the emotional spark that rekindles strength, desire, and vitality at any age, will be revealed in the next section. Section 7. Purpose reclamation. Testosterone's emotional source. I frequently explain to my patients that testosterone is a reflection of your inner vitality and not just a hormone. Even if you take all the supplements in the world, eat healthily, and get enough sleep, your body will still sense that you've lost your sense of purpose. I once sat with a man named George, 68 years old, who told me, "Doc, I just don't feel like myself anymore." As we conversed, it became evident that his spirit had become quiet long before his hormones did, even though his labs revealed low testosterone. He had given up his passions, retired, and spent most of his days vacillating through routines. When the mind loses its drive, the body follows. You see, testosterone flourishes in men who still have a purpose in life, something that challenges, thrills, or gives them excitement. It's not just biology. It's emotion, energy, and identity all intertwined. I've seen men's testosterone rise naturally when they start painting again, volunteering, lifting weights, reconnecting with their wives, or simply walking in the morning sun with intention. Those moments of purpose act like sparks that reignite the internal fire. When your life has direction, your brain releases dopamine, the motivation chemical. Dopamine supports testosterone production and resilience, creating a powerful loop between purpose and vitality. That's why I always say, protecting your hormones isn't just about food or sleep, it's about protecting your spirit. Because at the end of the day, it's not just your testosterone you're trying to restore. It's your drive to live fully. And in the final section, I'll show you how to bring everything together into one clear, powerful action that can reignite that fire. Starting tonight. Conclusion, the final step. Reignite your fire one night at a time. If you've made it this far, I want to speak to you directly. Not as a doctor, but as someone who has walked beside thousands of men on this same journey. What we've uncovered together isn't just about olive oil, or testosterone, or even hormones. It's about giving your body permission to feel alive again. The truth is, aging doesn't take away your strength or your masculinity. Disconnection does. Disconnection from good sleep, from nourishing foods, from calm evenings, and most importantly, from purpose. But now, you have the tools to rebuild that connection, one small ritual at a time. Think about what you've learned. How belly fat and insulin resistance steal your vitality. How olive oil protects your cells and balances your hormones. How the simple pairing of honey, nuts, or seeds before bed can unlock overnight recovery. You now understand how sleep, calm, and consistency are not luxuries. They're your body's language for healing.
When you honor that rhythm, your hormones respond in kind. I've seen men in their 60s and 70s reverse what they once believed was inevitable. They didn't chase fads. They didn't rely on quick fixes. They built a nightly ritual. A spoonful of olive oil, a few seeds, a moment of peace, and they kept their promise to themselves. Slowly, their energy returned, their focus sharpened, their confidence resurfaced. They didn't just regain testosterone, they regained themselves. So tonight, before you go to bed, take that small step. Mix your olive oil, take a breath, and remember that you are not done. You are rebuilding. Because sometimes the path back to strength, clarity, and vitality doesn't start in the gym or the doctor's office. It starts right here, in your kitchen, one quiet night at a time.